All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Go With The Flow. I'm your host, Folarin Okulaja, here with another very special guest. But before I get to my guest, the usual things like subscribe, retweet, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And yeah, do all those things that will help me grow this Go With The Flow podcast. But now to my guest, episode that I'm very, very excited about. Reason being is you are someone that people probably see a lot of, but they don't get to hear from as much. And I think that's one of the things that I love the most about the show and why I started it, is just being able to tell people stories and have people actually get to know who they are in a meaningful way. But without further ado, welcome to the show, Samira.
Thank you. The applause is just us two.
No, yeah, I just clap for myself.
We'll add some sound effects in the background.
Sound effects. That
live crowd.
That's the next stage. One day, Go With The Flow will have a live audience and there will be people actually clapping. But for now, we are in the studio.
That's enough for me.
But for those who actually, again, I'll let you even just give your own background. Samira, can you tell the people who you are?
Yes. My name is Samira. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, grew up in Ohio, more recently from Minnesota, 23 years old, and I come from a Somali background.
What were the ages that you were in each? Because I didn't even know that, the different states you've lived in. So born in Atlanta, how long were you in Ohio, and how long has your family been in Minnesota?
Yeah, so I was born in Atlanta, lived there until I was about like 4 or 5, which is why anytime I try to claim that as my city, people are like, you're not from there. I'm like, yeah. I am a Georgia peach.
I don't think you get to claim that.
Okay.
4 years doesn't count. But honestly, no, let me not. I can't tell your own life story. Those could have been the most formative 4 years of your life. So
I don't remember much.
Okay, then you can't claim it.
Fair. Well, then I will claim Ohio, Columbus. I lived there my whole upbringing, my whole entire youth. So from the ages of 4 up until I was 16, maybe turning 17. I remember moving to Minnesota, going into my junior year of high school.
Ooh, that's a tough time to move.
Very tough time.
What was that adjustment like? Because I moved, so for context, I born in Nigeria, lived there 9 years, moved to North Carolina for 2 years when I was 11, and then moved to New Jersey at 11, but that was 6th grade. So that's like an easy time to transition. So what was it like having to move junior year of high school, friend groups already established, all that fun stuff?
Honestly, I don't even know if I ever told my parents this, but it was honestly very difficult to be like uprooted from one place, specifically like one state, and then like just planted and dropped in another. I think leaving my friends was probably the hardest thing for me. So difficult that when I moved to Minnesota, I did not want to go to public school. I wanted to do online school.
Oh, wow.
I didn't really see the point in making friends that late in the school year, even though it was possible and I could have been optimistic about it. I kind of wanted to upset them a little bit. Not guilt trip them, but like kind of be like, well, you guys are definitely like gonna see the outcome of this. So I just stayed at home every single day with my laptop on. I would log into my classes, and honestly, I got the hang of it. And then COVID happened shortly after, I think maybe like 2-3 years. So
wait, so you were already able to do classes online even pre-pandemic?
Pre-pandemic, yeah. So when I moved to Minnesota, I enrolled in a online high school.
Oh.
Yeah. So
and your parents were okay with that? They were just like...
Yeah. I mean, come on. They took me out.
Fair. I mean, relatable, because I remember when I moved from North Carolina to New Jersey, being the little rebellious child, like, I hate you. I'm like, why are you making me move? I'm going to miss all my friends. Although, again, I think because I was 11, I was like, I'm not going to not have friends for the next 7 years. So I then leaned into it, made new friends and all that. So does that mean that even to this, well, maybe not to this day, but you, for the rest of that high school experience, you just kind of kept on that same theme of keeping yourself and didn't really build a friend group in Minnesota?
Well, lucky for me, I was a little socialite, I guess you can say. I had so many online friends, so many that I had some in Minnesota as well.
Okay.
So I had my own little community of girls that I had met from like Twitter, who were also just like kind of posting pictures and stuff on there. We'll get into that later. But I knew some familiar faces. So when I moved to Minnesota, it was really easy for me to like make that transition into having friends, just not anything related to school.
Yeah.
The move was like initially a little tough, but I was kind of used to moving around. Even like just like within Ohio, I lived in maybe like 4 different places, went to like 3 to 4 different schools.
Damn.
Yeah, so I was always moving around. It was just, at least if I made a friend here, I would just move maybe 20 minutes away, still can see that friend.
Mm-hmm.
but that wasn't the case anymore.
Just out of curiosity, what were the Ohio cities?
I lived in Columbus. I lived in New Albany. I lived in Westerville. Probably one more that I'm blanking on.
I was hoping you would say Cleveland. I was going to ask, are you a LeBron fan?
Okay, not that far out.
Okay.
We stayed within the general area.
Okay.
Cleveland's a little bit further.
Okay, fair. And honestly, I love it. I love when my guests kind of segue into the next topics pretty organically, because you just mentioned posting on Twitter, making some friends online. So for the people who don't know, you have a big online presence. Some might call you an influencer. You are an influencer. Some might. You are. And so I'm just curious, what was the first platform that you started even just posting content on?
Yeah, so I started posting content for fun, I might add, on Twitter. I would just take some selfies, post them, give them a little cute caption. A lot of the times they were Drake lyrics. Most of the time, if you know, you know. But yeah, I was just doing that for fun, and it started like taking off. There was even a time where like during COVID, like I couldn't really leave the house. So I would be like posting pictures of me in different places, like different countries. And I became like a Photoshop connoisseur. Like I just knew how to use Photoshop. It like took me maybe like 5 months to learn. So I would like carefully like trace myself out of the original photo, pop myself in Italy. I'm not even kidding. And it actually looked pretty like real. But like I would preface by saying stepped into a painting, or like giving it captions where people are like maybe alluding to the fact that it could not be real.
Yeah.
Obviously travel wasn't allowed during that time, but have always posted on Twitter even to this day. Started when I was like 15, 16. The Twitter lore is that I kind of got kickstarted off of this like group chat that I was in with a bunch of other like, you know, like I don't want to just say pretty faces because everyone had their own like specific niche, but a lot of the times it was like girls who had a big presence for like just like their looks. But we all started that as a foundation and became really close friends over the years. Would support each other in this like group chat that I honestly have been seeing a lot more recently during the time of COVID, when people would make support groups, being like, oh, I'll send this into the group chat. Can everyone just show love? That's what we were doing, but on Twitter, and like kind of before all this had even started. So I would send a photo into the group chat. Everyone would show love. And because they also had like such big audiences, my photo would then be like, would have a new reach. So yeah, I was just doing that for the ages, I want to say 15 to 18. I was probably in that group chat. And then I left and just started posting content. Still, it was doing great on its own without having that constant like back and forth support. But yeah, that's definitely how I got my start. I would link my Instagram under every single Twitter post that had even the slightest bit of traction that was coming up.
Yeah.
And that's how I hit 10,000 followers for the first time on Instagram.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to mention, because I mentioned right before we started, I actually stalked your Twitter. And so I got some good questions that I'm going to ask based off of that. But I did see that intentionality of, okay, this tweet might have even just like 2,000 to 4,000 likes. I'm going to link my Instagram. At what point did it become intentional for you to then want to direct people towards Instagram? Because at this point, and even just from like outside looking in, I feel like Twitter isn't, people don't really become influencers off of Twitter.
No.
It's at this, nowadays it's Instagram, TikTok for the most part. So at what point were you like, okay, if I want to actually build any sort of real audience, let me take it to Instagram? And what made you be a little more intentional about that?
I feel like I always knew that I wanted the audience to translate over. I knew if this was something that was even going to be remotely like sustainable for me in my future, I would need to just kind of give myself another like some leeway to just like gain a new audience and gain some new traction on a different platform. And Instagram was the app for photos. So it was like I was actually posting this on my Instagram first. You guys are seeing it second. So come on over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. And then at what point, because again, you mentioned that you were able to hit 10K on Instagram or Twitter first?
On Instagram.
On Instagram. At what point would you say that the traction started to become meaningful in a real way? And I don't even know what number that is for each person. I feel like it's all subjective. But at what point where you're like, okay, I have X amount of followers. This feels like I'm gaining something pretty substantial here.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I wouldn't say it was about like the follower count at first,
Mhm.
because that even now, like that doesn't really, I don't see, there is significance behind it, but I'm not going to hold my value to that.
Yeah.
So I always knew that as much as I was gaining, I was probably also going to be losing. Just that's just the name of the game. Like even now, like you can gain 10,000 followers in 3 days, but then you are losing maybe 7,000 followers. So,
Mhm.
like the gain you're actually getting isn't even that much higher, but there are 10,000 new people who are following you on like this new platform, you know? I think for me, realizing this could actually be something real was when I started getting brand deals. And when I started having brands reach out and be like, hey, we want to see you in this, or we want you to wear this. And that kind of just started out with like DMs and just like normal giftings. There was no like actual tangible and no money yet.
Yeah. And do you remember the first company that reached out, and what was that feeling of, is this real? This company's actually wanting to send me stuff and work with me? Like, just take me back to that moment and describe what that feeling was like.
Okay. I have to preface by saying this was maybe the year 20, it was either 2019 or 2020. So still around like the 10,000 following range.
Okay.
Fashion Nova.
Okay.
Funny.
Fashion.
Funny, not funny. And to me, that was just so cool because it was like, wait, Fashion Nova. Like, I think now creating a brand image is so important, and what brands you work with also like kind of like describe who you are. I would never really work with a brand that I don't align with now.
Mhm.
But back when I was first starting out, it was just so exciting that some brand with like millions of followers wanted me to wear something. Like,
Yeah.
To me, that was like the goal.
Yeah.
So I kind of just accepted that brand deal. I don't even remember how much it was. I want to say like maybe a few $100s. I mean, I was working at PacSun. Like,
Yeah.
To me, that was like
A lot of money.
check.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Yes.
Yeah.
So I remember doing that, and that was like the very, very first, without any management, without anyone being like on my team, just like me solely doing that.
Okay, and honestly, that just brought up another line of questioning that I didn't even think about that I want to get to, which is, as you become more established, even finding management, building out a team, and how you build, because you are a brand and a business, and how you actually be intentional about scaling that.
Yeah.
But then back to those, I guess, initial days, you just made a comment about being intentional, or at first you're getting an initial offer, and so you're going to want to work with them.
Exactly.
How has your mindset now developed a little bit, and what are some of the things that you might look for from a certain brand before deciding to work with them? Because I imagine there's a bunch of companies coming at you asking a collab, and you're not going to be saying yes to all of them. So what are some of the things that will differentiate one brand versus the other?
Yeah. I would say in the beginning, none of that really mattered.
Yeah.
Just because I was just a little girl trying to get her bag. You know, to me, there wasn't any brand imaging. There wasn't like, my mentality then wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to take this all the way and like work with some of the biggest brands one day. I had no idea.
Mhm.
Even like, we can get into like the imposter syndrome of it all later too. But that to me was just like, I'm just going to take what I can get all at once.
Yeah.
Now I have such a completely different perspective, which I'm so grateful for, but that came through trial and error.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, when I was like just saying yes to every single brand deal that came my way, I think that kind of stemmed from like me not wanting to lose out on anything, me not wanting to lose out on money, especially when it started hitting the like 5 figures, 4 figures.
Mhm.
Like it was something that it was hard for me to comprehend turning down that amount of money, especially like with the background that I came from and how my family like raised me. It was just a little, we struggled a little bit, you know, like we moved around a lot. So saying no was just really never my first option. It was always just say yes, get as far as you can. Now, I think before I work with any brand, I just need to know the brand ethos at the end of the day. I just want to know what they stand for. I'm not a perfect person. I feel like I have.
None of us are. That's okay.
Yeah, I definitely have worked with some brands that or have been seen as problematic and have taken note of that and have moved forward and been like, that is not something that I can align with moving forward.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, like, your audience will also like hold you accountable and be like, I didn't think you'd work with them, or don't really know if that's a good fit. But just like knowing that for yourself before like hearing that from other people and just taking it and running with that. Yeah, I think just looking into the brand now, not saying yes because it's just a big amount of money. I've turned down a lot of deals today, yesterday, whenever, with brands that I feel like I just don't want to either overwork myself, and I also don't want to just say yes just because it's like good money. I think being a good person with like a genuine soul, you have to realize, for me, it was once I made it, I don't have to be doing all that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I actually can, like, I can still be grinding and doing everything I believe in and not having those two things clash.
Yeah, makes sense. And you're bringing up so many good points that I'm going to circle back to. But before we get now into more of the current day and age and you establishing yourself in a real way, when you were initially getting going, were there any influencers, content creators that you kind of looked up to as examples of, okay, if I can either model my content after theirs or try to get to the level that they're at, then I know I'm actually building something? Or was it just like a, maybe not, you're just kind of posting and seeing where you can go?
Yeah. I mean, at the time, there weren't really a lot of influencers that I looked up to because I didn't really see anything yet as being influential. I kind of just saw everyone as being pretty and like taking these gorgeous aesthetic photos. There was no, at least when I was on social media, I wasn't seeing constant ads like how I do today. Yeah,
things have changed in a real way. And honestly, to be fair, I feel like even the concept of celebrities have always been influencers through brand deals, marketing, X, Y, and Z. So that's always been a thing. But I think it is a more recent development where people might not necessarily be an athlete or an actor or an actress, and they are still able to have that same sort of impact. So I agree with you. Influencing is really a new trend.
Yeah.
And it really is in its nascency. So fair enough.
Yeah.
For you, at what point did you then realize, okay, I'm building some sort of real audience and this is something that I can actually go into full time rather than just being something that I do on the side?
Oh my God. That wasn't until pretty recently. Like, I want to say when I moved to New York is when I was like, holy crap, like this is like the real deal. I think for me, when I lived in Minnesota, I was always doing more than one thing at once. So I never really got to like focus on this one thing that was my passion, not really a full-time job. When I lived in Minnesota, I was in school. I was also working a full-time job, well, part-time, kind of full-time job. And then I was doing brand deals on the side. So it was something that whenever it came in, I would try to prioritize that, but it wasn't coming in as like often as I wanted. It was maybe like once every 2 months, It wasn't something that I could live off of, but it was something that I was like, this is a good start. I don't know. I'm kind of a glass half full type of person where I always know that everything is going to work itself out. I feel like I knew from a really young age that what I wanted to do maybe wouldn't have been the traditional route. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I could see myself doing something just like a little bit more creative.
And off the beaten path, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, not until I moved to New York, which was summer of 2022, on the false pretense that I had an internship at school.
Did you not have an internship?
If my family is watching this,
tell the story. Let's hear this. I mean, things have worked. That you're doing more than okay for yourself. Tell the story. Let's hear it.
Oh my God, why did I bring that up? Okay, so I moved to Minnesota, or sorry, not Minnesota. I moved to New York because I had an internship for 3 months over the summer of 2022. Within the first week of moving to New York for my internship, I got a brand trip offer, my very first one ever. And it was to go on this like trip to Mallorca, Spain. It was one of the first real brand trips that I had ever been on, and I was going as like a +1 with my friend.
Okay.
So I was like, oh my God. I like picked up the phone immediately and called my parents. I was like, I just got invited to go on this insane trip to Spain, like for a full week, all expenses paid for, business class flights, 5-star like accommodation. If I take this offer, I'm unfortunately going to have to leave my internship because it starts the same day that I leave. Oh no. Oh no. So yeah.
And then how did they react? What did they say?
Because they were like, honestly, like very supportive.
Wow. Okay.
Very supportive. They were like, wow, that's so sick. Like a free, like all expenses paid for vacation. Like they knew the brand.
Yeah.
Like they were like, this is huge. So very supportive. I guess I was just a little hesitant because I was like, what am I going to do when I get back?
After that, exactly. This was 1 week of 3 months that you're supposed to be in New York. Yeah.
Exactly. So I get back from that, I get back from that trip and there's no internship in place anymore. So I just get started in like continuing the content like grind. I also, before moving to New York for those 3 months, I had a game plan of saving up all my money that I made from these like side brand deals and what I was doing at work. Saved up enough money for only 3 months. So I had to come back home regardless at the end of the trip. But having that initial will to move to New York was because I had gotten signed by an agency.
Okay.
A management agency, by the way, not like a modeling agency. I feel like people kind of like get those
conflate the two, yeah.
But a management agency reached out to me, and this was like way before, but through DM, they like scouted me. They were like, hey, we'd love to sign you. Like, we think you have so much potential and like content. We feel like we could like get you brand deals and like, you know, make you real money. Like your page is beautiful. And I was like, wow, I'd love to hop on a call. And it was between one agency and another one. So I had 2 calls that week. And I remember being like, how do I decide between the two, which I want to like go for? One of the management companies is actually the one that I chose, Portrait. And I'm still signed to them to this day.
Shout out Portrait.
Shout out Portrait. They had said that they really wanted to sign with them because of the fact that they had already, during the week that I was deciding, reached out and like did a bunch of outreach for me with all these brands and came back with like 3 brand deals ready to go versus the other agency who was just kind of like waiting for my answer. I was like, wow, like you guys are hustling.
Yeah.
You're coming to me with like actual, like, do you want to do this? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you guys already got your feet running on the ground. I want to go with you.
Exactly.
So I went with that agency. My manager, Natalie, who I love very much.
Shout out Natalie.
Like, he's become just like my go-to person for anything work-related, has become my friend over the last few years. She was a big reason as to why I moved to New York in the first place, because she was like, I am making the move from LA to New York. I think you would really love it here. I think you would thrive here. And because I only had 3 months to give up at the time because I was still in school, I took the 3 months, June, July, August, during summer, gave it my all, went straight into content. And thankfully at the end of the 3 months, like I had made my money back tenfold.
Love that. And this was summer, what, 2021 you said?
2022.
Okay, it's 2022, which, okay, so many things based off what you just said. Firstly, I love the fact that your parents were supportive of you, because I'm trying to put myself in your shoes where, again, immigrant background. Oh, yeah. If I had told my parents, and I just interned at Goldman Sachs, just left Goldman. It's funny, I was never actually allowed to say Goldman Sachs on this podcast, but I just left Goldman.
Now you can.
Now I can. And I'm trying to think of what, regardless of what the internship, if it's finance, whatever it is, if I would have told my parents, oh, by the way, I have this opportunity for 1 week to go on this brand trip, blah, 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 blah. I know for a fact they would have been like, what are you talking about? This isn't why you're here. Go to the internship, get that job, and start, and then go on from there. So I love the fact that your parents supported you. And I also would like to think that, honestly, maybe even if they didn't, you would have taken the chance anyway, because you kind of maybe saw what was potentially...
like a glimpse of that opportunity.
Exactly, what was coming down the line. And then another thing that you mentioned that is also awesome, and I think regardless of what career you are in, when people start making real money, and the fact that they're not really intentional about how they're going to spend it. So I just want to dig a little bit deeper into what made you, when you were making some money from your side projects, what made you instead of just like blowing the money on whatever, because that's how most people operate.
Mhm.
What made you say, no, I'm going to think a little bit down the line. I know I want to be in New York. I want to save. Like, just what made you be smart about how you were spending your money and not spending your money? Because I think that's something worth digging into. Because again, regardless of whatever, like I spent my Goldman money in like 2 months. Like when I was an intern, there's athletes, there's stories of them all blowing their first paycheck, X,
Right.
Y, and Z. So what made you be so intentional about how you spent your money?
Well, for starters, my mom is an accountant.
Okay, that'll do
So
it.
that's all actually. No, I honestly wasn't really, I was very good at saving, but once I got to a certain amount of money, I did want to blow it. Because this was the first time that I was making like money for myself and I didn't have to ask my parents for help.
Such a great feeling.
It is such a good
Being
feeling.
financially independent. Yeah.
It's insane. It's like just like a different level of like, I don't want to say freedom because I feel like I have that regardless, but it is just like not having to like call your parents and ask them. It's nice to like have it the other way around where they are like, hey, like, can I have some money? You know, I just feel like being able to help my parents out, regardless of if they want it or not, obviously that's every parent's dream. I feel like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
just like raising a kid enough to where they can like help you out financially, emotionally as well. I'm not saying this is all about money, but since we're on the topic of finances, like that is important. It was actually between buying my first car or moving to New York for 3 months, which is crazy.
That's correct. But again, that's such, you were investing in yourself by putting the money towards New York. Because if you like, everything you just described led to you being where you are now by taking that chance. So I just love it, which I also, going back to your Twitter, which I stalked and gave me a lot of good content. And it's so cool how, I don't even know if you realize you like manifested a lot on Twitter and it's just started to come true one at a time. So on November 23rd of 2018, you tweeted, moving to New York in the future for sure.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize I said that.
In exclamation marks. And that's just one of those things where it's like you put it out there in the world and then a couple years later, you do that and it's what's able to set you up to be where you are now. And then back to one thing, because I also wanted to touch on the management team, which you just spoke about. If those companies hadn't reached out when they did, the two of them, actually, sorry, one more thing on this, because you've brought up so many great points. Even the simple example you mentioned of there were the two companies that were interested in you. One did all this groundwork to put in the effort, put some brand deals in front of you, and then one just was like, we want to work with you. That's such a good example and should be a lesson out there for any, whether it's a job, a management company. If you actually are interested in someone in a real way, put some sort of effort out there. Actually do the legwork to show what, to earn that. I think
they both said that they wanted me equally as like bad.
Yeah.
But one did the groundwork. They presented me with something that I was very hard to say no to.
Yeah, exactly. And that perfect example for people who, if you're in an industry where, even if you're in like a job search, like I was between two jobs and one just showed like they wanted me a little bit more. And that's just what's going to make you go in one direction over the other. So I love all that. But to the question, if those companies hadn't reached out, is that English? If these companies had not reached out.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, why?
Sounds fine to me.
Why does it not sound fine? By yourself, did you feel like you were in a position where you needed some sort of team to help you out? Or would you honestly have just kept doing things by yourself at that period in time?
Well, the money I had saved up came from taking that like management offer with that company. So because they had given me like 2 feet to stand on and they were giving me a lot of my like income by like doing outreach and bringing me these brand deals, I stuck with that. I didn't see myself, it was honestly a lot harder to hustle on my own, but that's how I got started. Like I remember doing the outreach and like essentially like begging people to be like, to like notice me as a creator.
Yeah.
And it took some time. I even remember, I don't know, I feel like when people are talking to someone else, when they reach out to you like via email, I just feel like it just sounds better. I don't know. So I gave myself a new name. I became my own agent. So I would be responding to my own emails. They'd be like, hi, Samira. I'm like, hi, this is blah, 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 working with Samira. Like,
Smart.
I don't know. Like,
Smart.
I just wanted to make it seem like I was like legit.
Yeah, exactly.
And
More
to me,
official
like, having
presence.
a team was like someone backing you was just seen as like, you're going to make it far.
Yeah.
But because I did that on my own, I kind of just like was very steady for a long time and then got with my agency and then just kept going.
Things took off from there.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's a perfect segue to now the point in time where you are at now. Established brand, you've been doing this successfully for a few years and you're just getting going. There's so much more success coming your way. I'm curious about, from the outside looking in, people might think it's all glam and glory and blah, like the life is all perfect, so amazing. But I know that as human beings, there's like difficulty in everything that we do, whether it's job, like personal stuff. So what for you has been the most difficult part about the influence and lifestyle? And what are some things that people might not necessarily appreciate from the outside looking in?
I want to start off by saying I'm extremely grateful for the job that I have. I think I'm honestly so lucky to be able to call this my full-time job, getting to travel and take pictures. I just think that's a luxury in its own. But being able to make money from that is something that I think a lot of people find hard to understand, especially because it's just all so new. But I think a lot of people think that it's just something. I just remember seeing like a few TikToks being like, if I had started posting my dancing videos back in 2020, I would be like living in this penthouse with this influencer right now. And I just think that's so interesting because it's like, that isn't always the case.
It's not that simple. Yeah.
It's not that simple. And I think when you start off doing something as a passion, it'll like eventually like get you to where you need to be. I think if you go into something head first, just thinking about money, it's just going to be tainted a little bit. And I think a lot of people don't understand that most content creators started doing this for fun with no money. And there were times where I wasn't making anything and I was still like getting dressed and putting on 3 outfits. I remember coming to New York for one weekend and doing like 10 looks and just like running around the city, trying to find different locations, taking all my pictures, then coming back home to Minnesota and like figuring out like what's gonna work. Yeah, I don't want to say it's a hard job. I just think it is difficult sometimes to let people in, especially when they're strangers, and allowing people to kind of have a parasocial relationship with you where they feel like they're entitled to knowing everything about you, but it's like, wait, I'm putting things out there that I want to share.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times what I've seen with content creators who like lead with their personality, people become so invested where it's almost too invasive. And a lot of people aren't okay with that. I feel like as humans, we need our privacy. And that goes for every single person online. Even if you're not a content creator, you just wouldn't overshare what you're not comfortable with. So when people are in your comments constantly like picking on one thing, you kind of have to be like, well, this is my job. I kind of have to be okay with that. Even getting hate, that being something that like I've also dealt with in the past. Things like that are just hard. I don't know. Just being a human, having feelings, it's hard not to take things personally. But just kind of I've almost like desensitized myself to a lot of harsh comments. Because it's just not something that I want to read or see. I feel like now where I'm at in my career, I haven't really dealt with that as often, but I remember in the beginning when I was just getting started on Twitter, it was harder for sure.
And even a couple of things that you just mentioned, because I do think that as consumers of the content, people have an entitlement, which is a word they use, which is a perfect word to being able to say what they want and just address people in whatever way. And they kind of forget the fact that the person on the other side who's posting the content is just a human being and doing it for whatever reasons, whether it's their career or they just love doing it. But for whatever reason, people just lose a little bit of decency that comes with, like, if they were across the street from you in person, they wouldn't talk to you or comment things a certain way.
Exactly.
But just because it's behind a screen, they feel a lot more comfortable and liberated to be able to speak to people however they want. And so that is something that you've experienced. I'm sure either you have or know people who have. And for me, I'm a big sports fan. And so I'm always curious about when athletes are talking about the way that they deal with social media and reading comments. And even you'll see some of the biggest athletes be like, oh, like, I still read comments every single day. I can't help myself because it's just human nature. And because there's going to be some positive comments. And in the midst of it, you might be reading all the positive, and then you see one negative one. It's like, oh, fuck, and then that kind of ruins your day. Vibe, But even me, like, my content is so small. It's so minuscule. But I posted this one TikTok, and it, like, did okay numbers. And I was, like, going through the comments. It was, like, some positive. And then this one lady was like, he's so pompous. I was like, what she called me pompous for? You don't even know me. You know me? You don't even know me. And so just seeing the way that it could affect people in such a meaningful way is just one thing where you would hope that as human beings, we just kind of dial it back a little bit and just treat people the same way that we want to be treated.
That everyone has feelings, and at the end of the day, it's cyberbullying. Let's talk about that. That to me is just a crazy concept that was such a big thing years ago, like cyberbullies and all this stuff. And now it's like our daily life. Like every TikTok I see doesn't even have to be not necessarily mine or any of my friends, but I'll just be scrolling on TikTok and I'll read the comments and I'm like, these are mean.
Yeah, people are just mean.
These are mean. And like a lot of the times it comes across as a joke or something funny. But as a person who posted the video, I'm like, I can't imagine reading these comments and thinking that all these people like me.
Yeah, words hurt.
Yeah, they hurt.
In a meaningful way. So how have you been able, so you just mentioned that you're a little more desensitized to it nowadays. How are you able to compartmentalize maybe certain negative comments and still be as positive as you are and still putting out the content as freely as you want to?
I would say focusing on the positive comments have like changed everything for me. There's always going to be one negative comment, regardless.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. But what outweighs that? It's like 100 comments versus maybe 2. Delete.
Yeah. But it's also still amazing how just, even if it's 100 to 2, how those 2 comments will be the ones that sit with you. It's so crazy how that happens.
And like the ones that you like think about, but there's 100 people here telling you you're beautiful. There's 100 people here telling you you're great. All these things. So yeah, just realizing that, appreciating the love that I get and ignoring the hate that I have gotten. Also, there was one more thing that I wanted to bring up that maybe some people don't know. I would say work-life balance is a little hard to find.
Yep.
I would say when I was like working a retail job, I had hours in place. Everything was different. Now having to like make a schedule for yourself and being your own boss, like making sure you're holding yourself accountable to sticking to these things, sticking to like a early morning wake up when there isn't going to be anyone who's waking you up. Maybe you don't have an alarm set. You just have to like get up and do it yourself. Being your own boss is just, you just can't really let things slide. I feel like I have days where sometimes I'm not doing anything and I could be, just making sure that I'm using my time and just viewing it as valuable as possible, making sure I'm doing things on a daily that will translate over into my content or doing things that are beneficial to my job. About the balance, when your work is life and life is work, it's like I'll be on a vacation, but because I'm on a vacation, I want to take a photo or I want to vlog it. I think because there are no like strict schedules, finding the time to go to events and do these things that are considered like fun and can be like play, but then like going home and like answering your emails and doing all these things. And I don't know, it's just so meshed for me that I'm still trying to find that balance of what is considered work and what is considered my life.
Yeah.
When my work is about sharing my life.
Yeah. And even further on that theme, just I think help people truly understand how hectic your day-to-day can get. Can you give an example of like a typical either day or week or month where you're doing traveling, you're doing events? Like, give us an example so people can truly appreciate how busy you can get.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would say Fashion Month coming up,
which is
actually.
Isn't it Fashion Week? What, next week?
Fashion Week is next week.
Next week. Yeah.
That is going to be an insane week. I am very excited, a little nervous, as always. I get nervous every season. But aside from Fashion Month, because that is just known to be busy, I would say, like, I would use maybe November as a good example, because, or maybe October, just one of the months. I travel very often. I will probably be gone 2 weeks out of the month every month. It just really depends on what opportunities I'm getting that I feel that I want to do or not comfortable passing on because it is beneficial to me in my career. I'll do it. I've been on, like, I think last year I went on 15, 16 brand trips.
Damn.
Which is a lot.
That's a lot.
And I actually, like, it's so funny because even in, like, the influencer world, like, that is considered, like, kind of a lot. So, like, not even my friends, but a lot of my, like, colleagues or coworkers who are, like, other influencers. Which, by the way, I saw a TikTok being like, influencers calling the other influencers colleagues. Like, no. But whatever. My other influencers.
Which they could
friends.
be, they're colleagues definitionally. Like, the definition of a word colleagues, like, people do the same job as you.
Yeah.
And I doubt you're friends with all of them. So yes, colleagues.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Yes.
That's why I had to correct myself. But a lot of my colleagues would be like, brand trip girl, like, all these things. But I think, like, hounding in on, like, the end half of the year, I really started prioritizing paid brand trips, because a lot of the times you can just be like, someone can, like, wave a really, really nice extravagant trip in front of your face, and it's so hard to turn those things down because it's like, why not?
Yeah.
I will be going on this trip. It's not paid, but I probably will end up getting all the content that I need for my page and for the brand that'll end up actually being beneficial for both of us.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting more content out of going, and then the brand is getting their content out of you going. So it works both ways. But I think because there are so many incredible brands that are so generous and do all these trips, that giving that opportunity to maybe someone else, I feel like I've done it all. I just want to prioritize the ones where I feel like I align with and ones that are paid.
Gotcha. And now back to another one of your tweets, because you tweeted back on January 11th, 2018,
Oh my God.
I can't wait to travel the world one day. Simple one, but the biggest manifestation. And like you just described, 16 brand trip, 15 or 16 last year, you're getting all these amazing opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to focus on sort of just the pinch me moments, like, how is this actually my life? So when you reflect on the past couple of years, what was maybe one brand collaboration where you did it and you're like, how is this real life?
Oh my God.
Or a few, as many as you want to say.
There's so many. And the immediate ones that I think about are, like, the luxury brands. Because for me, doing content over the last 2 to 3 years, I guess now, that was always been the most, like, impossible thing, like, breaking into luxury. Like, I started off, like, doing campaigns with, like I said, like, Fashion Nova and Princess Polly, and just a lot more fast fashion brands. So having that, like, break into high fashion and, like, kind of detaching myself from fast fashion brands was really important. And not to say that I don't work with fast fashion ever. Like, I shop at, like, H&M, you know, and I work with H&M. It's like, those kind of brands to me are just different because that's every day. And that's for my followers that also are just everyday people who want to get something for a quick, like, meet with a friend or a dinner look or going on a trip. You know, not everyone can afford the luxury that I'm great. Like, I've been so, like, blessed to be able to promote.
Yeah.
I think for me, I had, like, my breakthrough moment this past year with luxury, at least. when you asked me about one specifically, I was just thinking about Chanel.
Casual.
And I think it's funny because before I moved to New York, I got like a few tooth gems randomly just to like tap into my, whatever. I like also dyed my hair ginger before I moved to New York. I just wanted to really like a fresh start and like start off on like a cool girl vibe, you know? So I got my first few tooth gems. The first one I got was a double CC, like a Chanel. I still have it. It's right here.
There you go.
And I've had it.
On.
It's still on there. And I've had that, I think, for the last like 3 years. Like has not come off, which by the way, if anyone has any recommendations on how to get a tooth gem off.
Oh, wait, they're permanent?
No, but mine is.
Interesting. Okay.
I went to the dentist actually, side note. They have to shave it off. Like, I was like, oh, I'm scared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I
Good
think it's
disclaimer for
because-
anyone who wants to put on tooth gems.
Yeah. And I think it's because they like, I don't know if this is legal or not, but like use braces glue.
Okay.
So permanent CC on my teeth.
There.
I just think I didn't mean to like, I accidentally like brought that into real life. Like I kind of just did that as a joke. Like, oh my God, love Chanel.
Manifestation. You do it more than you realize.
Yeah. But oh my God, that was one of the craziest pinch me moments I've ever had. I think when they first reached out to me, I was like, there's no way.
You're like, is this real? Am I being pranked right
Yeah,
now?
I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for like, it was for fashion. It was for like couture. Like it was runway. It was just everything that I've always dreamed about. So doing that shoot was just everything. It definitely like a bucket list moment that I didn't even realize I had. And kind of a moment where I was like, wow, like these brands are seeing me. Like if I can get recognition from like Chanel, I feel like I could, I don't know. I don't want to say that led me to believing in myself more, but it was one of those moments where it was like, wow, I'm like seen.
Yeah. And you just posted an ad for Prada.
Yeah.
You've done stuff with Louis Vuitton. Like all these are the brands that anybody who even knows anything remotely about fashion is looking up to and aspiring to. So that's, again, congratulations to you. You've been crushing it. But another thing that you just mentioned or just hinted at is the imposter syndrome that probably came with all of this. So could you kind of describe your journey with feeling like you belong in the influencer space and the fact that you feel like you belong and you've earned working with these brands? Just speak about how your mindset has developed over time.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was all so foreign to me, everything. Meeting other influencers and like seeing the lifestyle that they had, I was like, there's no way that's ever going to be me. And it wasn't even in a sense where I didn't feel like I was deserving. It was just something that I never thought was going to happen for me. And it's not because I didn't believe in myself. I just didn't see anything amounting to the scale that I've gotten to today. I'll say that confidently, or at least this young.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm a very realistic person, and this job is so new and very, very fast paced that I'm just like catching wind of it's all so new that it isn't something in the past that I was like, oh, I can do that and I can make X amount of money or I can work with all these cool brands, because I didn't see that as like even being an option. I didn't even know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So kind of moving to New York and like settling in and being around like a lot of influencers who maybe came from a more privileged background. I didn't have that. I came from a family who worked so hard, not to say that privileged people's parents don't work hard, but it was just for me, I'm just like, hi, like, I had to take every single offer that came my way at first because of that. I didn't have the urge to say no to anything. I was like a yes man. Every event that came my way, I was meeting so many people. And on the back end, when I was actually like receiving good feedback from brands that have just maybe met me at an event, or PR people, or like taking every lunch meet, asking people to lunch, all these things. That's when I saw the like return, being like, okay, well, this is how you like do things here. Like you're going to network, you're going to get to meet all these people. And that to me was such a foreign concept because I didn't do that back at home. I was just working at the mall.
Yeah.
So just like having that jump from literally driving to Mall of America every morning and clocking into my shift to now like asking people who are like influential in the scene of content creation to like meet up or like pick their brain. That to me was a little bit, that jump felt more like imposter syndrome to me. 'Cause like, how can I even do that? Like, am I a little delusional or is this actually going to work?
Yeah. And are you at a point now where you've shed that imposter syndrome?
Oh my God. I don't even believe in imposter
syndrome. There you go. You realize you're her. Yeah. You've been her all along. You've been her all along.
I think I just realized that I am deserving of these things because I've worked for it. And allowing myself to just like continue to have like gratitude and just be grateful for everything that comes my way and try not to get desensitized to like my life of, do you want to go on this trip? Do you want to accept gifting from this brand? All these things that are like, wait, these are all so cool, but on an even bigger scale when they're all coming to you at once and you have the privilege of saying no to things, that's when it's like, oh shit, like.
I love that line that you just said, you deserve it because you worked for it. And that's so true. And I hope that's a message that everyone should really just take to heart. Because I've had so many journeys with imposter syndrome, whether it was Princeton or Goldman or all these other places. Now it's at a point where it's like any room that I'm in, no matter what, I'm like, I know I deserve to be there because I've worked so incredibly hard. And it's not just by luck. Obviously, luck will play a chance in anybody's story, but there's a reason you're in the rooms that you are in. Everyone that's listening, there's a reason that you get in the opportunities that you are. So don't feel like just because these people might have done it for a couple years before you that they're more deserving. You are at the table for a reason. Exactly. There's this very popular clip that's been going around where Obama was on a podcast and he goes, you know, you step into these rooms, when he was at Harvard Law School, and you're like, oh, these people, they have so much more on me. And then you get to the table and you're like, they're actually not that special. And he's like, oh, I get to the White House, I'm meeting all these world leaders, I realize they're all not that special. But people want you to feel like you should be, you know, so obviously you're grateful, we're all grateful. But when you get to all these different areas, you realize like, oh no, I am just as willing and deserving to be here as anybody else. Exactly. And so even just similar, another thing that you just kind of hinted at, what's another example of maybe like an individual, whether like celebrity, influencer, where you either met them, collabed with them, and you're like, how is this even happening right now?
Oh my God. It's actually not, it wasn't even a collaboration. Oh my God, there's so many celebrity stories. I don't even know where to start.
Say them.
This is so funny. But for instance, like I've been to a lot of celebrity brand events. So a lot of these brands have like celebrity backing. Like obviously Rihanna is like the face of Savage and Fenty. Haven't met her
heard
yet.
of her.
Heard of her. Have not met her yet, but I will be meeting her this year. I'm putting that out there.
I love that. And when boom, 1,000%. You've been great at manifesting, so now it's going to happen this year.
I would say the nicest celebrity interaction I've had was probably Bella Hadid. What a human.
What a human.
What a human. I'm not even kidding. Gorgeous. I almost like fell to the floor. Like and just so kind. Like when there's people who are on that level of like being influential and they actually take time to like sit down and talk to you, like that is so cool. Yeah. That to me is just everything. And I hope that even not being on that scale, if anyone were to approach me, I just hope that that's the vibe and energy that I'd be able to give someone. Craziest celebrity interactions, plural. I think this was VMA weekend. I ended up at this after party and it was Selena Gomez's party.
Heard of her. Wizards of Waverly Place, heard of her.
It was a very, very small venue and everybody was there from like Taylor Swift to like, I want to say Channing Tatum and oh my God, why am I blanking on her name? Zoe Kravitz. They were both there when they were together.
Pre-breakup, yeah.
Pre-breakup, yeah. Pre-breakup. This is like last year.
Yeah.
Just so many. Like I think being in like parties and stuff like that where I see celebrities pretty often, the urge to resist, oh my God, oh my God, I just have to be cool.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta, yeah.
It's like, obviously I know that I'm in this room,
Yeah.
but like, it's hard for me to just like sit there and not be able to like say anything
Yeah,
to my favorite artist.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
I hate the saying, like, act like you've been there before. That's such a hard one.
I know.
It's like, but I've never been here before. I've never seen this person. How do I say, yeah, you got to play it cool? Because I'm not meeting people like that, but there's a few things that maybe I did through work or whatever where it's like, act like you've been here. I'm like, I haven't.
I haven't been here before.
I haven't been here before. I want to take it all in.
I'm a newbie. But yeah, I've had some funny ones for sure.
Okay, and then still on the theme of these like pinch me moments. So you've been on a Times Square billboard, which I found out through your Twitter. On TV for a TikTok commercial, found out through your Twitter.
Yeah.
You have been on ads for brands, so like you're in the store. Which of these or any other similars were the most like, how is this even happening right now?
Oh my God, the Times Square one was unreal. That to me was like my first year. That was within the 3 months, by the way, that I had moved for the internship.
You send that to your parents, like, or send it to the company that you didn't do the internship with, like, look at me now.
I actually made a PowerPoint of all the reasons why I should stay in New York and be able to live there forever.
I love. Do you still have that PowerPoint?
I do.
That is. I want to see the PowerPoint just to see it.
No, I will. I pulled up stats. I did a finance report of how much I ended up making at the end of 3 months. All the brands I worked with, all those things.
Love it.
Crazy. We're here, so clearly it worked.
It worked out.
Be analytical, guys. You know, pull out that laptop. Especially when I'm talking to my parents who are very STEM oriented. It's like I gotta provide them with some.
Yeah, with the numbers, exactly. Yeah.
But to what you were saying, out of all the things, my biggest pinchy moment, definitely the Chanel campaign. As far as like seeing things that are like, whoa, like this is tangible, this is real. I would say the Times Square billboard, that was an insane feeling. I actually didn't get to see it myself in person, which is really unfortunate. But I have like a few videos that people sent me. I was like, that's so cool. Like, oh my God. The commercials, obviously very sick to see myself on TV. But yeah, I definitely think the billboard was one that just is hard to top.
Love it. Okay, 2 more questions before we get to lightning round and then the song segment. First one being, so for anyone who is looking up to you, they also want to have the same sort of success that you've had and they just look up to you as an inspiration. What is some advice you'd give anyone who's also trying to get into influence and content creation?
Yeah, I would say do it because you're passionate about it. I think when you lead with doing things you really care and love about, you're going to thrive in that field regardless. I also think just believing in yourself and not letting a short amount of time kind of turn you off of that job or that situation. I think nothing happens overnight. This wasn't even something I could have even envisioned for myself. And it now is even hard to envision the next few years because it's like, where are we going? And just like set goals for yourself that you are able to achieve. I think having goals that are like those tweets, for instance, were like simple, like manifestation, some could say, but those were like my real life goals. And like, if you do have any big ones, kind of work your way up to that. I think it's hard to set giant goals for yourself that are a little out of reach when you don't have smaller goals that lead up to it. I think for me, before, obviously New York was my biggest goal of life, like being able to live here, being able to afford to live here. But having that small goal of starting out here for a summer, that is what led me here, you know? So just having faith at the end of the day that things will work out in your favor, not giving up and just trusting yourself, I think is the biggest piece of advice I can give.
Love all of that. And then the last question before we get to the lightning round, how amidst all the success that you've garnered, do you keep yourself humbled and still appreciating each and every day and moment and deal and interaction without letting it all get to your head and then just taking things for granted?
I think it has a lot to do with my family and my upbringing, honestly. Kind of living both those different lives, like my childhood versus my adulthood, them being on opposite ends of the spectrum. I think looking at my little self being like, wow, like you would be so happy to find out what you're doing today, you know? So just kind of remembering that smaller version of me would be so happy with anything that came her way. Any opportunity that I've said yes to, any like small things that have just like helped me get to where I am. Those are the things that like led to such success.
Beautiful. Very, very well said. Okay, lightning round time. Okay.
Yay. Let's get it.
So, favorite city or country to travel to?
Ooh, Italy, even though they colonized us Somalis. Oh my God.
Ideal New York City day from start to finish.
Ooh, wake up, Pilates. Very rare if you see me in the Pilates studio, but sometimes I'm there.
Okay.
And when I'm there, it's a great day. So starting off with a workout, coming home, doing work, chatting to my team. I live in the same I live in the same building as my best friend. So seeing her
Shout her
for a
out.
little bit. Haley Sunny.
Shout out Haley. Shout out Haley.
Haley Sunny. Getting to see her every single day, honestly. And getting dinner, seeing the people I love, and ending the day with like a nice long shower.
Love it. Hidden talents.
I can move my ears.
You can move your
I
ears?
can move my ears.
Where's the camera?
No, please don't zoom in because that.
No, we're not going to zoom in, but can you just do it for the camera so we can see?
Well, let me ask you first. Can
Yeah.
you do that?
No, I can't move my ears. That's
Okay,
why
so
you
is
need
that
to
like an uncommon thing?
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon. So
I just think I have control over every part of my body.
So it's a hidden talent, so the people need to see it.
Okay,
There's
I
our camera
have
right
to
there.
Focus for a second.
Oh, that is being clipped. That is amazing.
Guys, I'm funny. I'm funny.
Yes, I've been
Tell
laughing.
them.
She's hilarious. You're and she's a comedian too.
I'm a comedian.
Comedian, move her ears, and she's hilarious.
And like, who's coming on here and saying they can move their ears?
Nobody. Favorite show you're watching right now or watched recently? Because another thing I gathered from going through your Twitter, you're a big fan of like TV shows. You're always tweeting about TV shows.
Yeah, I am. What was the question? Favorite TV show?
Either that you're watching right now or have watched recently.
Ooh, okay. I watch Gossip Girl all the time around holiday season just because it's based in New York and I love being able to like see what they did during that time. So always start watching in October and all the holidays just end up lining up as I'm watching the seasons. So that was probably the most recent show that I've watched again for probably the 5th time.
Okay. Fun fact about you that no one would guess.
I like alternative music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that'll come back in the song segment.
Oh, another fun fact. I ran track in high school. You know this story.
I know. I'm laughing because I was like, I bet you did long distance. That was wrong of me. That was wrong of me.
I ran track. And that was because it was the only sport that I didn't have to try out for. And I tried out for every other sport.
What events did you do? Tell the people.
I ran the 4x4 and I did, oh my God, I told you this, huh? I did the field part of track. Oh my God.
Was it javelin shot put?
I did shot put.
Disc, one of those, yeah.
I threw that 8-pound ball as far as I could.
Yeah, I don't see that for you, but okay. I was an asshole and I was like, I bet you did like long distance. He
was judging me, guys.
That was
I'm
wrong.
strong.
I stereotyped. That was wrong of me. That was wrong of me. And then last one, bucket list experience you have not had yet.
Oh my God. As of like a year ago, it was to like be on a private jet.
Sounds like it just happened.
It just happened.
It just happened.
Oh my God, I have to come up with a new one. Why not do it right now?
Do it right now.
I would say getting to fly my whole family out.
Love it.
For free.
Love it. Okay. Love it. Love it. First of all, phenomenal episode, as I knew it would be. The way that I wrap up every episode is I have my guests come with 5 songs that describe who they are as a person. I leave it open for interpretation. Can you please say the song and say the reason you chose it?
Yes. First song, I chose Wickedest by Thames.
Okay. Shout out Thames.
You know it?
Yeah.
There's a line in the song where she goes, 3 years and I'm only just getting started.
Love it.
And I just remember hearing that for the first time and I was like, it starts with like, I'm the one who got the scene bacon and then like blah, 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 3 years and I'm only just getting started. I relate to that so hard because I'm like, it only has been 3 years of me getting started. Like, we don't know.
You're just getting started.
We don't know where we're all going to be in the next like 3 years. So I'm just excited for the future. And that's why I picked that song.
Love it. And sorry,
Another-
even just really quickly to interject on that, there's always this concept of like, oh, we're so old, we're like getting to this point where we need to have accomplished X, Y, and Z by X age, whether it's 23, 25, 30, even 30s young guys.
Exactly.
That's so young. And I was just talking about this with some of my friends who you also know, where it's like, we are 25 through whatever age, mid-20s. And yes, we've accomplished stuff, but like we haven't even really gotten started.
Yeah.
So give it another 5-10 years and we're all just gonna, I can't wait to see where we all get.
Yeah.
But
we're all just scratching the surface.
we're all
right
just
now.
getting started.
We're young. Next song, Successful by Ariana Grande.
Okay.
I love that song. I've always loved that song since it first came out. I think it was like 2016. Obsessed with that song. And I think it's because a lot of the lines are, I'm so young and I'm so successful. And in the song, it comes across as like, I'm so young and successful, like a little more like flashy. But when you actually like think about it for a second, it's like, yeah, we are young and all of our versions of success are so different. And that to me was like, whether I'm there now or whether I get there, like this is a song that I feel like is just like going to empower me to do that.
Love it. Number 3.
Blessed by Wizkid.
Okay.
I feel like that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I feel blessed every single day I wake up and go to bed. I'm just so grateful for the life that I have and the people I have in my life. So yeah, I'm just blessed and grateful. Next song.
Number 4.
Tell Your Friends, The Weeknd.
I don't know that one.
This song is a bit more niche just because I love The Weeknd, everything about him. So this is just one
Even
of the songs.
that terrible TV show he was a part of?
Okay, no.
That show sucked. I'm
Not that
forgetting the
one.
name. That show sucked.
I also don't know the name because I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was not a good show.
I was not going to let anything taint
Fair.
that image.
Yeah, that
for me.
HBO show is terrible.
Yeah. So tell your friends. Go tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about this podcast. Thank you.
Boom, clipping that. Boom, perfect. Thank you.
And the next one is actually a Somali song to
Okay.
tie in a little bit to my heritage. It's Yartaradia by Sultan Serer, which is, the title means, Yartaradia is like, look for the girl. You know, so it's about like this girl in the room, like, where is she? You know, and I like that song. I think it just connects me to my roots. And it's like a wedding song that everyone plays. So I'm just like, yeah.
Phenomenal. This was as great of an episode as I knew it would be.
Yay, I'm
Samira, thank you for coming on Go With The Flow.
course.
Do you have any final words for the people?
For the people, love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. For Flo, great job, great host.
Thank you.
Admire you. You're great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been another episode of Go With The Flow. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.